Purafied has released the Micro Limiter, a very small limiter indeed. This one is pretty much bare bones, but looks deceive. It is a very capable limiter. The Micro Limiter is based on the Alesis Micro Limiter from the 80s, and to my knowledge this hasn't been done in plugin form up until now. You have input, output and release dials and a bypass switch. On top you find very handy auto gain controls, dry-wet mix control and oversampling options. This diagram shows it's a soft limiter, so your audio will ease into the limiting. Now with these controls you set your limiting, and I found that the next workflow works best for me. Set input gain while toggling the bypass switch to have bypass and input gain match. Then enable auto gain, which links input and output gain. I found that auto gain doesn't work 100% when you start from zero. Dial in the input gain and change the release so it sounds good to you while toggling the bypass switch. This way you will dial in the limiter to sound best to whatever audio you're using it on. Then disable auto gain and change the output gain however you want it in the mix. The output gain setting is something to take with a bit of grain of salt. Let's say you take some liberties with what you set and what the actual output is. -1 on the limiter shows -2 decibels. -3 decibel on the limiter is actually -7.73 true peak. And -5 decibels shows up as -13. So yeah, not really suited for precise limiting as final limiter on the master bus. Better chuck another limiter after it if you want to use micro limiter on the master bus. The release setting is manual, unlike many limiter plugins these days where you have auto settings. Release will have a massive impact on the sound of the limiter. Release is how quickly the limiter will recover to detect the next loud peak to react to. Slow release will result in a transparent sound. Quick release will sound really aggressive. You can always bring back the original sound with the dry-wet control to get some snap. This means you can nicely use this limiter for parallel processing and sound shaping. Before we continue, please make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on the latest new cool plugins. Cover songs is probably one of the many types of songs you would love to do, but uploading to a streaming platforms is always a hassle due to copyrights and required fee because you cover an original song. DistroKid makes this very easy for you by offering the option to do this all for you for $12 per song per year when you have a DistroKid subscription. Use my link in the description to get 7% off of your first year on a DistroKid. Now, the Micro Limiter is not the cleanest limiter out there by any means. It adds a bit of harmonics, and changing input will increase these. And having a shorter release will increase third order harmonics, which contribute to the more aggressive sound. In its default setting you do not get any EQ changes. There's a bit of high-end roaring off starting at 12 kHz, which old farts like me won't hear anyway. Changing oversampling will lower this considerably, where it starts at 5.5 kHz. It's a 6 decibel roll-off, so quite smooth, which you can hear, but like I said, it's smooth. The plugin is basically zero latency and CPU light in default. Using oversampling will of course eat up CPU cycles. Micro Limiter is $20 until the end of this year, which I think is a steal. I like this limiter with its quirks. It makes you want to turn those dials to get the best sound. Purified also has the great VU compressor. Check it out in the video which is displayed on screen and linked in the description below.